Okay, stand up quickly. Who are you going to? Okay, stand up. Who is it? What do they do or say that gets you excited? And then what do you now do differently because of that inspiration?
Oh, God. Sandy and Rosie, my bosses, the owners of my salon. They are totally awesome. I actually got to learn a lot from them because I used to go to their salon before I worked with them, and they just inspired me like so much. And I used to just be like such a negative person, and then one day there was like this big something that happened, and Sandy kind of pulled me aside and told me not to come back to the salon.
I love that kind of inspiration.
I know.
Get the hell out.
But I deserved it. But the best part about it was he gave me this green book, and I was like, why is he being so nice to me? And then I started reading it, and then I enrolled in the Austin school and learned like the whole culture and everything, and it was just awesome. And every day that I get to work with Rosie on Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's totally awesome because she's just like this tiny 12-pound woman who's like full of energy and so happy, and it just reminds me every day that it's so much easier to smile than it is to frown.
Give him a hand. You know, I know that we could go around this room and all of you would have something to share about a mentor. And by the way, mentors don't always have to be famous, rich people, right? Because, again, you have mentors that you work side by side with every single day. Now, what can happen, which will destroy relationships, it ruins self-esteem and confidence in the salon environment. What can happen is if there is somebody in the salon that you're working side by side with and they are somehow better than you are, they make more money than you or whatever, sometimes what can happen is we want to become jealous of that person. Let me ask you something. If you're jealous of someone, can you learn from them? No, so mentoring is about looking everywhere. There are mentors everywhere. But when we're talking about giving people, you know, that sense of appreciation, the best thing that you could do right now, and I love this message, and it's so strong within our Paul Mitchell School, Culture, and Network, is, you know, prior to you sharing that, did Angus know that he was having that kind of an influence on you? Did he know that your relationship now with your mom is better because of what he shared from the... Did he know that prior to you sharing that? So he didn't know about that. Huh. So prior to you talking about Steve and Terry, did they know that they're really completely changing how you do business and that you're so... Do they know that they're having that influence on you? They do know? So the best advice that I have for you guys, send out lots and lots of handwritten love notes to your mentors. Not an email, because that ain't special. I'm talking about where you sit down and it's your handwriting, and you take the time to share with this person. Get really in depth on how they're making a difference in your life. Now, and I know how it is. You're thinking, oh, you know, Angus, he's too busy for those kind of love notes. If Angus knew that by him telling his story about missing his dad, if he knew that that story was having that kind of an influence on you, what would he want to do more of? He would want to tell that story as many times to as many people as he can. It would make a difference. You guys, I've been with John Paul where he got a package of love notes, handwritten love notes. And I've seen him sitting on the plane, reading every single one of them, devouring every single one of them. Oh, my, Eloise, look at what this person wrote. Look how cool this is. Oh, my, look what they said about me. I've seen him read and we think, well, he doesn't need those love notes. We all need those love notes. Let people know that they're making a difference in your life, and that's the easiest way. I bet I get, I don't know, 20, 30 love notes every single week. I read them. I save them. I send out just as many love notes as I possibly find any excuse to give people that sense of appreciation. Such a simple thing, and you might be sitting there thinking, Winn, oh, come on, that's so easy. It's supposed to be easy. We make this stuff so difficult. It's supposed to be easy. These very, very simple belief systems and practices have built a Paul Mitchell School network that in 5 years is now the largest chain of beauty schools in the country. And the third way that you fix a relationship, the third way that you build self-esteem for other people or for yourself, is to give people a sense of being cared about. Let me ask you a question. In the salon, who is more important, the client or the staff? Yeah, it's a trick question because the answer is both. Both. Actually, there's a book called Customers for Life, and there's another book, which I highly recommend, called The Customer Comes Second. So what that book is talking about is the staff is more important than the customer. Take good care of the staff and build those relationships. What will they turn around and do? Create that magic, as we like to call it, for clients. The customer comes second. You know, salon owners, if your people know or they sense that you're only interested in them because they produce money for you, you're not building that sense of being cared about. You know, we can't divide our lives anymore. They used to try to teach us that, okay, over here's your career, so here's your job, here are your relationships, here's your spirituality, and you're supposed to keep all those areas separated and divided. Could any of you figure out how to make that happen? I know I never could. I was always like, so I'm supposed to leave my soul at home when I go to work? You know, that never made sense to me. What does make sense to me is that our relationships at work are just as important as our relationships at home, which are just as important as our relationships out in the community, which are just as important as our relationships with total strangers, and that who we are with total strangers will somehow bleed over into how we treat our own friends and family. Do you agree with that? Yeah, it's all kind of mixed in with each other somehow, and so to give people that sense of being cared about at work. And so, you know, we focus on a lot of things in our schools other than making money. Absolutely, we are for profit, okay? We are for profit. And I challenge salon owners that you go home and make that announcement to your staff, that you no longer run a nonprofit organization. If you don't know how to do that, contact Steve and Terry, right? We are for profit, but we're about a lot of other things as well. And so some of the things that we like to focus on are about growth and learning and empowerment. People want to grow. Giving people a sense of being cared about means that you're interested in them more than that they produce dollars for your company or your organization. They are there to learn about how to fix relationships at home. They're there to learn about health and wellness and fitness, and that your salon, your school, becomes the resource to provide that experience, that knowledge, that information for them. We, last October, launched a campaign in our Palm Mitchell schools called Losers and Quitters. And we had people sign up to be a loser or a quitter. It was a focus on health and wellness. So for my Palm Mitchell schools, if you have become a loser, meaning you're losing weight, or you became a quitter, meaning since last October, you became a non-smoker, stand up. And some of the victories, you know, we invite you to go to palmmitchelltheschool.com and look at our newsletter. In fact, sign up for our monthly newsletter. It's a free online newsletter that's emailed to you every single month. But look at this month's newsletter, and we share with you these stories of our losers and our quitters. Now, it had nothing to do with bringing in more revenue into the school. And yet, that's the place where staff members came to feel better about themselves, to build their own self-esteem, to have an exchange with each other, that maybe they didn't get that support at home, they didn't get it in other places, but that's what they get when they show up to your salon, when they show up to your school. You know, giving people that sense of being cared about. We have this phrase called create magic, and we focus a lot on what we